How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time, sir.
Hey, no problem at all.
I'd just like to give you an introduction here. Rick Wakeman, amazing musician, composer, member of Yes, also an owner of several spectacular capes, and the man who gave probably the greatest induction speech at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ever. Thank you for taking the time, sir. Appreciate that.
That's very kind. Thank you. Should I pay you for that wonderful introduction?
Yeah, I think I sent your agent the figure, so I'll expect the check in the week.
Oh, great. Brilliant. Okay.
All right. Thanks again. And I got to start off with I was reading up for the interview, and I read a quote from you. It said, "I'm permanently reading 9.8 on the I don't give a fuck meter." Now, is that reading still the same these days?
Yeah, it stays between 9.5 and 9.9. Yeah, I mean, I'm at that stage now of a true sort of grumpy old man. In as much as excuse me, I'm 72. I'm 73 next year, and I'm at that age where you sort of go, you know what, if you don't like it, tough.
Right.
And that's basically where I'm at the moment. And, I don't try and be offensive or anything, but, there's so much stupidity going around in the world at the moment. Sorry, excuse me one minute.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Sorry, there's so much stupidity and so many people, I don't know, things like political correctness, which actually drive me mad. It's ruined comedy for so many great comedians. I mean, there was a time when comedy worked on the principle that if you laughed and it was funny and you weren't genuinely offended, then it was funny.
Right.
Now, it's almost like people are looking around for trying to find a reason not to like something or to say that's funny. I mean, you can't tell stories about fat people. Even fat people can't tell stories about fat people. Tall people can't tell stories about tall people. It's just absolutely ridiculous what you can and you can't do. I mean, I work on the principle, if it's funny and it's not offensive, then it's funny.
Right.
So that gets me mad, and I think the world's got to grow up a little bit.
So is that what we can expect more of on the even grumpier old Rockstar tour? Is the I don't give a fuck-o-meter really pinning at 10 probably?
Well, I would think it might hit a 10 on occasions. I mean, I was looking through some stories, some that I've written and some that I've picked from great friends of mine in the comedic world of stories. And I was looking through, I go, I can't tell that. It's not offensive, but I can't tell that because I'm not allowed to say. And then you start looking and you go, I know it's going to happen at some juncture. There'll be something that will happen at one show, and I'll start telling it. And that's you're quite right. When I'll read the 9.99, maybe even 10, I don't give a fuck, and it'll come out. I have never. I have to say, I mean, I have told some stories that people have said, "Oh, you really think you should have told that?" But I've never had anybody come to me and say that was so offensive that I wanted to go and drown myself. I think that it's a minority of the political correctness group.
Yes.
And you start thinking about things that people who complain about it, it is the minorities that seem to have the louder voice.
It is. I wholeheartedly agree on that, and the internet has made that possible. That you have people on either extreme, the right and the left, and the loudmouths on the right and the left are making all the noise, and then there's everybody in the middle who really is just trying to go about their day.
Yeah, I call it unsocial media.
Right.
It's not social at all.
Yeah, right. It's not friendly at all. Right. So, along with the stories on this tour, are you going to be playing, what kind of music will you be playing? Will you be dipping into Yes, or will you be sticking to your particular solo stuff? Will you be touching on music you've worked on?
I'll dip into Yes, and some of my own stuff, and plus people I've worked with like David Bowie and Cat Stevens.
Oh, nice.
And that's I dip into some other things, and and some things that perhaps people wouldn't think. I think there'll be some pieces that perhaps people might expect me to play. There'll be a percentage of pieces that they might not expect me to play, and there'll probably be a percentage of pieces that they probably wished I didn't play. But it'll be a real mixture.
Yeah, I mean, most notably, to me anyway, David Bowie, you were very important to his first big hit, Space Oddity. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And he gave you some great advice, which it kind of goes along with what we've been talking about. It's just, just be yourself and be with people who appreciate who you are. That's kind of the secret, or that's kind of how you've pretty much done your whole career, right?
Yeah, I learned more from David than from anybody else I ever worked with, and he had great producers with Ken Scott, Gus Dudgeon, and Tony Visconti.
Yes.
Really great people. And David, he gave me so much advice. I mean, not only did I have the honor to work with him on that record and on Hunky Dory and all those kind of albums, and on a bit of Ziggy as well, but we became neighbors. We lived. We both lived in Switzerland in the late 70s, 76 to 1980, 79, and when we were both not on the road, we spent a lot of time in a little club called the Museum Club in Montreux, where we used to put the world to rights. And I had I mean the word honor as well. I had the honor of knowing David both as a musician, a composer, and a friend.
Yeah, and he actually asked you to join the Spiders from Mars, but you refused, right?
Well, it was the same day that I got asked to join Yes.
Oh man!
Which was and I chose Yes simply because David's far and away the most exciting person I've ever worked with, but. I realised that, although the band would be great because there was going to be Mick Ronson, Woody, and Trevor, the difficulty would be that I love playing David's music, but that would be it. It would be all David's music.
Right.
So there would be a ceiling as to how much musically I could get in and do. Whereas with the band like Yes. Who were growing at the time. I mean, David was far bigger than Yes at the time, but Yes were growing. I thought, this is a band where I know what I can do within this band. There's areas musically that I know I've got stuff to give to this kind of band and what they want to do, and so could go much further. And ironically, David 100% agreed with me. He said absolutely the right decision. In fact, years later we talked about it in the Museum Club in Switzerland. He said that's absolutely the right decision in every respect.
Well, you had a piece about you always had an interest in the legend of King Arthur, and you had a huge musical piece on King Arthur, which was actually performed on ice, which I found to be amazing. But I was reading you've always wanted to kind of bring that back and continue to perform King Arthur on ice. Is that still alive? Is that still something you want to do?
I absolutely would love to do that. There was a lot of missing music from King Arthur, which we re-recorded it a few years back, and I performed it at the O2 in London with the orchestra choir and kitchen sink, and it was just fantastic to do. And so many people said, "Oh, you've got to do it on ice again. You've got to do it on ice." And the thing is, back in 1975, ice skating wasn't that popular. It was mainly an Eastern European thing. It wasn't what it is today. In fact, all the skaters that I brought them in mostly from Eastern Europe and a couple from Australia. It wasn't, a British or an American thing. But I wanted very much to do it again now, because nowadays what you could do on ice is so much more than what you could do back then. We were very, very limited. I mean, it took 3 weeks to freeze the ice, let alone anything else. And I've spoken to a few choreographers of ice skating who've all said, you could do some fantastic things these days. And America is made for it.
Yes.
You've got all these wonderful ice stadiums and ice rinks, and I would just love to do it again. Big orchestra choir, do what I did before, which is build a big castle in the middle of the ice, have all sorts of things going on. And you can sculpt ice as well now for the skaters. But it would cost a lot of money, and it would need a promoter and a sponsor or a TV company who go, we can see the value in this, we could do this.
Right.
And then it can be put together. We know the music works. We know that the actual joining the ice skating and the music and the show works. It's not as if it's something that's a pipe dream. It is in essence tried and tested.
Right.
I would just love to do that. Before I'm too old, shall we say?
Right. Well, kind of along with that and your interests, you also have a great interest in space. Your latest release is about Mars, and now that it seems like more civilians are getting into space with the Jeff Bezos space program, Richard Branson, and Elon Musk, and now William Shatner's going to be going into space, I believe tomorrow. He's going up in one of Jeff Bezos' rocket. Any interest in maybe performing music in space?
I'd love to do that. I mean, William Shatner, he's great, William. He's got to be the oldest person ever to go up in space, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's 90. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I've actually performed on a couple of William's records.
Oh, which ones? Oh, my God, really?
I did his Christmas one.
Oh.
And then I did another prog rock one where he recited over all the prog rock stuff.
Oh, nice.
In fact, one of my proud possessions is I've got a lovely letter from him, which I've got framed at home, which is really nice. But yeah, would I like to perform in space? Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to perform on Mars, but. I don't think there'd be much of an audience, but it would. I mean, Mars, I just find fascinating because we know that. Excuse me, 3 or so billion years ago, Mars wasn't a red planet; it was a blue planet, very much like Earth. And all these probes that have been up recently, they just keep discovering. Oh, there was a lake here. There were rivers. There were this. It was a blue planet, and a lot of my friends at NASA and other agencies are pretty convinced that there will be pretty compelling evidence that there was life of a form on Mars. So it'll turn out that David Bowie was right in the first place.
Right. Well, Rick Wakeman, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. The Even Grumpier Old Rockstar Tour. You are playing tomorrow at the Center for the Arts in Natick, which is a beautiful room with great sound. You're at the Tupelo Music Hall in Derry, New Hampshire, Northampton, Mass. The next night, Academy of Music, New London, Connecticut on the 16th, the Gard Arts Center. So you're doing a great little run of shows in New England. And then hopefully after this, you'll be playing on Mars.
I hope so, yeah. There's a couple of nice craters there that will be quite good, I think.
All right. Well, Rick Wakeman, again, thank you very much and good luck on this current tour.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Cheers.